Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Bill from KeystoneWeapon.com, and I'm going to go over just something that's pretty common on a 1911, and it's switching your extractors. One thing that's common for is a lot of the 22 TCM Rock Island Armory weapons are equipped with two extractors. Some are, some aren't. Mine tends to work with both extractors pretty much flawlessly, but it's 100% reliable as long as I use the right extractor. So usually when I'm changing out the recoil spring, I just go ahead and change it out as well. Something you may see on my gun that yours may not have is I actually have two different firing pins for mine. And my gun originally was some sort of a prototype, so mine's a little bit strange, but so I have right here in front of me a mid-size, and this has the bull barrel. You may have a bull barrel, you may have a bushing barrel. The only difference is going to be takedown for the to remove the barrel. So I'm going to show you this is an unloaded firearm. It is safety checked, and I'm going to dry fire this into nowhere. All right, good. And however you go about taking apart your weapon, that's fine. However you do it is your deal. That's how I take mine apart. So we got the slide. The slide's just going to get sat over to the other side here, and I'm sorry, that's a frame, not a slide. I've had a long day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my handy dandy tool here, which is just a bent paper clip, to get inside the capture hole of the recoil spring, recoil guide rod. And I'm just going to do that by pushing that forward, put this little guy in the bottom there, and that'll actually allow it to capture this guide rod plug here. Now, like I said, if you don't have a bull barrel, yours is a little bit different. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the barrel because I don't need that right now either. You can do this with a million kinds of different little tools. I have a billion little picks and little files and punches, and yeah, I'm just going to do it this way. Here, I have a little screwdriver. You know, everybody can find one of these somewhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first remove the firing pin, which will allow me to remove the firing pin stop, and then allow me to pull the extractor out of the back. Now, your extractor, you know, you can see it up here in the front. The extractor is actually bowed. It's like, it has like a banana shape. Not quite a banana shape, but it's bowed because it has tension on it. So you won't be able to just pop it right out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push down on the firing pin stop, or the firing pin, and pull the stop back a little bit. You can kind of see right now it's in sort of a halfway position. I'm going to put my finger over the top of this while I get the rest of it out, because this little guy right here, this is under tension. So when I pull this out, you'll see that there's a spring and the firing pin. I'm just going to set that over to the side with my 9mm stuff, right? Because I started with a 9mm barrel. I'm switching it back to TCM. You would do this exact same thing to go the other way. And what I'm going to do is I need to get this extractor out. So the easiest way is to push down on the extractor a little bit. Just give it a little bit of love, right? And you'll see that it sticks out a little bit. You can actually rotate it around a little bit, known as clocking. You know, it's going to have a little bit of clocking because there's no firing pin stop in there to keep it from doing that. But I'm going to push that forward just a little bit. You can pry and pry and pry here all you want, but you're not going to get that extractor out without damaging the crap out of your gun. So the easiest way to do this is take a look at that extractor, and let me see if I can get it in here under the light a little bit better. But I'm going to take this extractor and I'm actually going to pull it in this way. Now this is probably the screwdriver is not the best tool for this, but it does work. I'm going to try not to mar the extractor on its useful edges, which are the bottom and the inside. But I'm just going to pull that back and sort of give it like a pulling, and you'll see that it actually at this point will drop down into the channel just ever so slightly, and it's sticking out even farther now. So now I can get in here and, you know, work that extractor out. Sometimes they need to be wiggled out, sometimes they'll just fall the heck out, but this extractor has a little bit of a bend to it. So this one here is labeled 9mm. Now I'm not sure if yours will be like that or not, but I'm putting all my 9mm parts over there, and I have all my TCM parts right here. So this extractor is for TCM 22. I'm sure that you probably can't read that, and sorry, but it's TCM 22. This also will only go in one way because it's set up to match the rear end of the slide. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of a push in there, maybe a little bit of a wiggle, get it pushed in. You might see that it'll actually go past the end of the slide, and that's okay because you're just going to kind of take your flathead screwdriver here or whatever you're using and just kind of mate it back up. So now you'll see that it's pretty much mated up with the rear end of the gun. This is where I'm going to take my firing pin and spring, drop that back in there. And this is a part you want to pay attention to so that this spring doesn't fly out and hit you in the face. What I like to do is take my firing pin stop, and you'll see that the firing pin stop sometimes has a radius to it, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always keyed. So it has these little notches here that will slide into the corresponding notches in the bottom of the slide. So I'm going to push that in just a little bit, just enough that it's literally just barely there. And I'm going to take my screwdriver or punch or whatever, and I'm going to push this down until I can wiggle it in a little farther. Now, I don't have to do this on this particular gun, but sometimes you have to maybe like just you know, maybe align this just a bit, and just be careful. You don't want to scratch your gun or anything like that. At this point, I'm still putting forward tension with my thumb on the firing pin stop because I want to push this firing pin stop down and allow it to move nice and easily forward until that pops right back up. So now my firing pin's there, it's got its nice little spring beneath it, and the extractor is in the firearm now. So when it comes to switching the barrels, this is where you want to be careful. Taking this 9mm has 12 pounds of pressure behind it, and you know, sometimes it's easier to do it on a table. It depends on how you do it. But essentially, I'm just going to press mine down on the table and slowly let it up. You do not want to shoot this into outer space because that will happen if you're not careful. This is the 12-pound spring, and you'll be able to feel the difference between that and your 7-pounder, or at least those are the poundages that I run. And if you don't switch those springs, if you put it back together and forget to do that, your TCM will just have tons and tons of extraction failures because it's got essentially 5 pounds too much of recoil behind it, recoil spring behind it. So if you shoot it and you're like, what the heck's going on? This thing won't shoot anything, and it just jam. That could very well be it. Maybe you forgot that step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 7-pound spring, which is significantly lighter, and I'm going to put it on my guide rod. I'm going to take my recoil spring plug, and if I go ahead and push this down, I actually like to point these lips away from me on both of these. Like this has a machined part, and the top of the recoil spring is machined out. I like to point them away from me, and then I stick this tool through the hole on this side. And the reason I do that is because now it won't be in my way when I go to reassemble it, and I'll show you that in a second. So I have my 22 TCM barrel. I'm going to go ahead and put that back in the slide. For some reason this is ridiculously hard to do while I'm on camera, but I could do this in my sleep if I wasn't. So that's why I want this paper clip up so that I can slide this through here. Excuse me. Kind of get it up. You want to make sure that this actually fits in there flush. So sometimes you might have to like give it a little bit of tweaking. And see right there we go. There, mine's in flush now. So that's in flush. Your recoil spring, everything's working fine here. And at this point, I can go ahead and reassemble the firearm. And we can function check it. You know, I would recommend maybe checking it quick with a few rounds. Put a few rounds in a magazine and just cycle them. You know, obviously be careful. At that point, it is a loaded weapon, so you know you want to make sure that you're keeping it in a safe direction and everything like that. But maybe just cycling a few rounds to to ensure that you have everything working correctly and that it's slipping up under the extractor correctly. But honestly, if you can see this in the back and you open it and do a visual inspection, you have your slide, or I'm sorry, your extractor right there. You should be good to go. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Do what I can for you here. All right. Thanks, guys, and have a great night.